Over 1,300 light-years from Earth lies one of our galaxy's greatest sights, the Orion Nebula. It's a brilliant cloud of interstellar dust and gas, and a hotspot for star formation. In this video, I'll be photographing this nebula with my new astrophotography rig. I've spent the last 3.5 years imaging the moon and the planets in our solar system, and I really love doing it. But there's just so much more out there in the night sky: galaxies, nebula, and star clusters, also known as deep sky objects. I've always been interested in imaging these, but I just haven't had the right equipment to do so. That is, until now. Behind me is my new deep sky astrophotography rig, and in this video I'll be putting it to the test and photographing the Great Orion Nebula. The most important piece of this setup is the mount, and I'm using the Skywatcher Star Adventurer GTI. This is what keeps the camera and telescope on target and precisely tracking the motion of the stars, which allows me to take long exposure images. Riding on top of the mount is really one of the finest wide-field refractor telescopes on the market today. It's the William Optics Red Cat 51. This refractor telescope has 51 millimeters of aperture, that's about 2 inches, and is 250 millimeters long, or 10 inches. Now, for the first few weeks with this setup, I've been using my Canon T3i, a DSLR camera, and I've been really happy with the results. But about 2 weeks ago, my new camera arrived, and it's really going to help take my pictures to the next level. It's the ZWO ASI 533 MC Pro. It's a dedicated astronomy camera that will outperform my Canon camera in just about every measurable way. There's a few other accessories that I have, including a mini computer that allows me to run everything using my phone or tablet, a mobile power station, a smaller guide scope and guide camera that corrects any tracking errors in my mount, as well as some heating strips that keeps dew off of my optics. Tonight I'll be photographing the Orion Nebula, which is actually the first target I photographed with this setup and my Canon T3i camera. Deep sky astrophotography is all about long exposure images. We take what's called sub-exposures, usually a few minutes in length, and when you add up all those individual sub-exposures, you get what's called a total integration time. So the first image I took with this setup of the Orion Nebula contained about 45 minutes worth of images from my Canon T3i. The image I captured tonight of the Orion Nebula using my new astronomy camera should turn out a lot better. So I'll be going for roughly 2 to 3 hours of images on the Orion Nebula tonight. There is one big challenge I'll be dealing with tonight, and that is the moon. It's about 70% full tonight and will be high in the sky, close to the Orion Nebula. Now, I'm shooting this from a suburban sky, so we already have some light pollution from the ground to deal with, and the moon really adds to that, and it can wash out your images. The last image I took of the Orion Nebula with my Canon T3i was during the new moon, so it wasn't a problem for me. But tonight it'll be something that we have to deal with all night long. So even though we'll be dealing with some challenges, I think as long as I get a few hours of good exposures on the Orion Nebula with this camera, I think the image will really turn out well in the end. Another problem I've been dealing with lately is the weather. I've had my astronomy camera for over 2 weeks now, but I haven't got the chance to get outside and test it yet. And that's because we've had about 2 weeks of clouds, rain, and snow. Tonight is supposed to be a clear night. It'll be the first chance I get to test this camera, telescope, and mount all together. That's important because one of my goals with this setup is to pack it in the car and travel to some amazing dark sky locations to do some astrophotography. Tonight might be the only chance I get to test this mount, telescope, and camera together before I go down to a dark sky location. When you're under dark skies, it's important to take advantage of every minute of darkness, because imaging from a dark sky location really does wonders for your images. So the time to troubleshoot problems or work out issues is now, not when you're underneath dark skies. If I drive all the way to a dark sky location and run into problems, that could turn what's supposed to be a fun adventure into a complete disaster. So it's really important that I get outside and test everything ahead of time. And tonight might be the only chance I get to do that. If I can get a good image of the Orion Nebula tonight, that'll be the encouragement I need to travel underneath dark skies and do some astrophotography for one of the best locations anywhere on the East Coast. So there's definitely going to be some challenges tonight between testing out a new camera for the first time, battling with the cold weather, and dealing with the almost full moon high in the sky close to my target. So I'm really interested to see just how much detail I can pull out of the Orion Nebula. It's time to find out. The first thing I do is precisely align my mount to the celestial North Pole. Polar alignment is super important because once the mount is aligned to the rotation of the Earth, I can tell it to point anywhere in the night sky and it will accurately track the motion of the stars. Once that is complete and the telescope is focused, I issue the command to point it at the Orion Nebula. There it is. The wind chill temperature is just 7 degrees Fahrenheit. For the next few hours, my rig fires away. I am pleased to report that everything went according to plan. The light I'm collecting from the Orion Nebula has just completed a 1,300-year journey through space and onto my telescope and camera sensor. Okay, the telescope is finished taking pictures of the Orion Nebula. It's time to pack everything up, and I'll see you in the morning where I'll take a look at what I got. I ended up taking about 2 hours worth of pictures of the Orion Nebula. Let's take a look at the final image now. There were a few clouds that rolled in throughout the night, so the end result is about an hour and 40 minutes worth of exposures. There were a lot of challenges that I faced, from testing a new camera out for the first time, to setting up and tearing down in the frigid cold weather, and probably most importantly of all, the almost full moon high in the sky near my target. Those are far from the ideal conditions for astrophotography. All of those things considered, I'm really pleased with how much detail I was able to pull out in the end. Now that I know what my new astrophotography rig is capable of under some less than ideal conditions, I can't wait to see what I can do from some proper dark skies. Weather permitting, that's exactly what I'm going to do next. Until then, check out some of my other videos. Or if you want to see more of my images, follow me at JackAstroPhotos on Instagram. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.